Hello again. We're here at KugelWorks and I'm Forrest. We are looking at this pair of turn signals that the MVP parts company just sent us, along with a few other pieces that they're now reproducing. After our last video, somewhat critical of their reproduction nose panel, they reached out to us and asked if we were interested in receiving some of their parts, some that they are selling currently, and other kind of pre-production parts they have in the pipeline, and giving them some feedback, checking the fit, and critically giving a review. So we just opened these up and we're taking a look at one of their Italian turn signal assemblies next to an NOS BMW part. They look real similar from the front, but from behind you can see the real obvious difference is this stamping and the date stamp there. Also the wiring and the bulb configuration and connectors are different as well. We got a set of the Italian ones and a set of the Euro. This is a pretty toasted one that came off of my car. And their Euro lens. Same back assembly frame and wiring connectors and plug sockets, gasket, etc. And they also make a US version. This is a US OEM BMW part and theirs. But let's get into some of the details on this. So at face value with this, I think that they got really close to being super accurate with the details. This subtle grain to the top, you can see maybe some color variation, but the texture and finish is almost identical. The detail around this rear area tapers down real tight at the back. That's one detail that is really required to fit well into the fender. One thing that I did notice is there is a subtle color variation. You really need to see it with a white background on both. And it could be that this OEM lens, and then with a dark background on both. The OEM light may possibly have a little bit of sun discoloration over time. It's a pretty subtle difference, but noticeable and notable. Obviously, the raised lettering on this casting in the plastic says made in Germany, and there's a SAE lettering below it. This just has a SAE lettering. Their part number through the center, and there's also kind of a little, it's a dog, it's a goat, it's something, a little animal there. Anyways, subtle details. Again, the more important part being, at least with the Italian lens, that you have the US style or Euro style second bulb location here, so you don't have to, gut the back of a US version lamp and retrofit that. Real similar, their gold zinc plating and reflector and everything. There's some subtleties with the finish, but from the geometry and the assembly overall, as well as this gasket, it does feel good. I'm really interested to see how these weather over time. Again, only time will tell with that. We all know that the rubber and plastic, once it's exposed to the elements, that can really affect the longevity of any of this stuff. So a garaged car that doesn't see salty roads and winters is going to look a lot better over the years. But the real test is fitting this onto a fender that we know is good, that an OEM part fit well to. So this is our friend Keith's 68 2002. It would more or less be the same if it was a 1600 or a later car as far as fender hood trim in this corner. All the fender signal pockets are identical. So whether it's a US car or a Euro car, you can see that this reveal as far as where the sheet metal radius is in and the gap around it is pretty consistent. It is honestly never perfect from the factory. They're all pretty good. It is a well-made German car, but you can kind of feel with your finger as you step up. It might get a little fat here and be a little shallow there, but you shouldn't have big inconsistencies. So if you have a known good signal and you have a big step, it may need some adjustment either in the mounting on the inside or the fender itself could have been repaired in an accident, and body work paint guys just hammered it around, bondoed it, and didn't really nail it as far as that pocket goes. But this fits pretty well, and so we'll put the MVP one in and see what we see. Another thing that we might note is how we fit to the fender on the top. Obviously you want a similar reveal, and this is stepped up a little bit. They're never flush with the top, but it should be fairly consistent. This is closer to flush there and steps up a little bit. We'll pull this out, and I know sometimes the internal framework that holds the sockets is a little tight in the fender itself too, and that's one thing we want to look for. This slides right out pretty good, and one of the reasons that we're getting into this was wired incorrectly due to the fact that it only has one bulb, and the US version will have a signal and a marker, so we're going to swap that out. But again, this is an OEM Italian turn, and we're going to swap the MVP in. Okay, we're going to set the wiring up the same as it would have been stock with these little sprung connectors. I don't know if you can see that. They can be kind of a pain in the butt. You can choose to put a little dab of solder on the wire as long as it doesn't grow too much. But if you squeeze it down and then get a small pair of channel locks on there, it can clamp it in place, give you a little bit more flexibility for getting the wire in there without needing 3 hands to do it. And then when you release this, like so, that'll hold on there tight. Get this other one in. Well, right off the bat, I can feel that this internal reflector is a little tight on the sheet metal. It's a real tight tolerance with the OEM part. It is going in, but it's a bit of a squeeze, and we'll take a measurement off of that and see just how different that is. But it is allowing us to seat it, and we'll see what happens when we suck it up with the screws. Right off the bat, I'm not seeing big discrepancies, but the brand new rubber gasket is pushing it out quite a bit without the screws sucking it in yet. As far as the clearance around the reveal, it does look pretty consistent, although the whole thing is proud right now because we don't have hardware in it. So let's get some screws in this. The parts that they sent me did not have any hardware with it. I'm assuming that the production ones, they may provide hardware. If not, then you do want a number 6 stainless oval head screw. These look like about 3/4 of an inch. And there. subtle to find the exact spot, but just start that one. And go back and forth, get this to suck up. Feels pretty good there, and still a little ways out here. Sucking up through the center okay, and checking to make sure it's not rocking around as I tighten it up. You can really make a difference in how a part goes in by subtly checking what it's doing as you're tightening the screws up and manipulating that with your hands to get it into place. So this still doesn't feel completely sucked up. Feels good there. This gasket is compressing pretty good. I'm always scared with plastic parts like this that it can be over tightened, but the frame doesn't seem to be distorting at all. We got a consistent reveal. You can see from the top a bit of the gasket poking out that looks pretty close to the OE part. So that internal reflector rubbing is a concern, and we'll check that and see if we can put a little adjustment on it, and or they can hopefully change it before the production parts make it to the shelf. So this reflector that was a little tight going in, it looks like it's just about 38 millimeters on the nose on this OEM part. And we checked all of the ones that we had. They're all 38.5 or 39 millimeters here on this reflector. Could just be the tooling. It's out a little bit, not real square, and it could easily be squeezed down to get the clearance that you need. Hopefully they can make that adjustment, and these will fit great. Just as a cross-reference, I test fit on another car we have here, a 73 Tii, and this is the right side. And the same lamp on a 71 1600. So our overall impression and experience with installing these was really pretty good. The fit on the 68 right side wasn't great, so I test fit it to a couple other cars, and it fit real well on those. So I think it just had to do with more the paint and body work. Also, a real simple fix with this reflector is all I did is grab it with a little pair of these and just squeeze it down, and it changes that, takes care of the discrepancy completely. I know that for a concourse judge, they are going to look at stuff like the castings on the plastic and other things that you're going to definitely see. For the value of this, again, we're going to see over time how well they do with exposure to the elements. But overall, I'm real impressed. I don't know what the price point's going to be, but I do know that the Euro lights and especially the Italian markers are a pricey item. So we'll see how all that works out. And again, I'm not being paid by MVP to sell this stuff. I'm not distributing it in any way. I'm just doing this for the love of the community, and I'd like for everyone to get the best value for their money with what they're getting, and also know that this is not an OEM part, and it's not going to fit and look like an OEM part. But from a few feet away, it looks and works pretty good.